Chris Hansen here, and I'm going to need you all to take a seat right over there and check out Birds versus Boys.
I think you're completely right here, and I hate it.
Yep. Hey, idiots. Stop doing dumb things. I got 2 phones. Upset alert. Upset alert. I might go insane.
I think you're already there.
There's no hope. Hope is gone. If this was an AFC North podcast, we'd be done in 15 minutes.
Bob Hope.
I'm going to drink bleach.
Be the team you promised me you were going to be this year.
This is the Consciously Hopeful podcast.
I'll be watching.
All right. Welcome to another episode of the Birds vs. Boys podcast, powered by Branded Sports and sponsored by our nice stateside vodka. A few things similar this week, a few things a little bit different. So similar, we are recording after another Eagles loss. We're recording immediately after the funeral for the Eagles Super Bowl window. So that has remained the same. Eagles loss, similar result. What has changed here is our little panel of people. So Kevin, who represents the Cowboys here, he is in the blue medical tent today. So he is out. So what we have today, we have 2 people with Branded here. Producer Vince, who we've seen before, he pops on the show. He is a godsend behind the scenes, helping produce the show. And then we have producer Eddie, who is our podcast director at Branded. So we've got a few different voices in here, which should make for interesting comments and controversy and content after a game like what we just saw for the Eagles. So Vince, as the Eagles fan here, I will go to you first. How are you doing? And let's just get into it tonight with how you felt about the game.
I would use the term Eagles fan lightly right now.
The fairest of fair weather, you could say.
I love plugging my own Twitter account. I tweeted, I forget what it was after the interception. I was like, Hope's lost. Let's hit that over. And that didn't happen either.
That did not happen, but they did cover. Great teams cover.
Did cover. Great teams cover. And I've prematurely named this episode the Birds versus the Birds. I feel like I could play you and Kevin never, ever, 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 ever disagree. So I'm just going to play a little bit of devil's advocate tonight. So it could be Birds versus Birds.
Well, speaking of devil's advocate, we have Eddie here who, if I say the sky is blue, Eddie will tell me how green the sky is. So, Eddie, how are you doing? I feel like you're going to be a little bit joyous tonight more than us.
I mean, I never like seeing you guys down bad. It really hurts me in my core to see, just week after week, Philly is just, it's a bad place. We know it's a bad place. Bad things happen in Philadelphia. That's a fact. That game was in Philly. A lot of bad things happened.
So I've heard from certain people. But yeah, I mean, I felt like tonight kind of went exactly how everybody expected to, fan or non-fan. Like I said, it was just like, Vince, you live in the city. The weather today was like a hurricane, a tornado. You couldn't see because it was raining so hard. It was just dreary. It felt like a funeral today.
I live on the 15th floor of my apartment building. And this is the first, believe it or not, it's November 30th, the last day of November, I think. And there was a thunderstorm today. It's the first time I've seen lightning since I've lived here. And I don't know if you guys have heard real thunder. You guys got diet thunder down on the ground. This was all the way up here. You've never heard thunder like this before. And my thought process, because this was at maybe 6, 7 o'clock. I was like, oh man, because I knew that we were going to be I was going to have to be recording tonight. I was like, oh man, I hope this isn't still noisy while we were recording. And my thought process didn't even go to the game might get delayed.
Yeah. With lightning, they do cancel the games. COVID, no. Lightning, yes.
Definitely not COVID.
Was the last time that happened the Colts game when they did the banner? And it was the worst banner reveal ever because they didn't even really do anything.
It was, yes. I paid $300 to watch my only Super Bowl banner of all time. And because of the weather delay, they're just like, all right, here's a banner. We got to get this show on the road, and just dropped it. And there was no celebration. There was nothing. They were just like, here's the banner now. You waited your entire life, and here we go.
Well, as someone who's seen several banners.
Oh my God. Here we go.
I mean, it's a great experience. I feel really bad for you. I wish you got to experience that.
What New Hampshire team won all the banners?
So the New England team that won all the banners. Listen, Vince has been saying for weeks, months that New Hampshire doesn't exist. New Hampshire's real. It's on the map. It's right up here. I'll point to it.
We're told it's on a map. So
I know.
Eddie is a Patriots fan and stepping in tonight. We will probably get into more debate than Kevin and I, who are the Cowboys and Eagles fans. We've been told New Hampshire's on the map. Just like I've been told the Cowboys won Super Bowls back in like the 70s. Who knows? That's just what people have told us over time. And we're like, oh, I guess they're right. I don't have any evidence to back it up.
Yeah, no, it's funny because usually people around our age will be like, if they're Cowboys fans, like, well, you didn't even see them like win it. I can't do that with Kevin because he's 50 years old. So
yeah,
he actually has seen all of the titles.
Millennial Cowboys fans, you've never been a winner, but he's like actually seen them win.
Yeah. He's like, yo,
part of the reason why it's harder to go back.
We were killing them.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so let's get into it tonight. Weather aside, funeral aside, I think this went exactly how we expected it to go. They had no offense. It was anemic. It was rigid. They started the game. Eddie and I were joking before the show. The first drive went so fast. I thought the game started at 8:20. I never missed a start. I thought the game started at 8:20. I sat down at 8:19. They had already punted the ball, and they started with 1st and 5. I think that summed up the night well.
Yeah, no, I mean, I actually I turned the game on at like 8:25, 8:26. Just I was running late. The Seahawks had the ball. And I was just like, they started the game with the ball. Like I had no idea that you could, punt the ball that quickly. That has to be a record. That is something to hold your hat on.
There you go. Yeah, that was the tip of your cap moment of the night for the Eagles. That and the one completion for Jalen Hurts, who we will get into later. But yeah, so I sat down at 8:19, 4 minutes in, and it's like it was 14:31 on the clock, and Russell Wilson was coming onto the field. So I'm like, well, there's no way like that kickoff took 29 seconds. I had to text one of my group texts and be like, did we go 3 and out in less than 30 seconds?
Wait, you texted during a football game?
I did. So rule of thumb, I turned my phone off, but I was so shocked by the fact that we went 3 and out that fast. Like before I turned my phone off, because in my mind, 8:20, I'm turning my phone off. I was like, did we start with the ball? Which we did, and went 3 and out, and it was rigid from then on out.
Yeah, your defense looked good though.
And I think that's been the problem with the Eagles like these past few weeks is defense looks good. Defense gets stops. Momentum, like shifting stops on those 4th downs. But they're on the field for so long, it's just not sustainable, Like if it goes back, remember when Chip Kelly was here and they'd go 3 and out in that no huddle so fast that the defense would just be gassed by the end of the game. Now they're not going up tempo like Chip Kelly was, but they're coming off the field so fast. We talked about it, 29 seconds, and then they're off the field. So by the second half, it's tough for them to keep up. But even in the second half, I thought they did a good job against a really good Seahawks offense. But that's been the story of the year. The defense hangs in as long as they can, but you can only hang in for so long when it comes to this offense, and as anemic as it is for so many reasons.
Is Jim Schwartz trying to pull a Jason Garrett here? Does it feel like it?
Yeah.
Like Jim Schwartz has this face, and like I know you probably know what I mean, but I don't know if everyone knows it. Like they cut to him, and you can't tell if that's just his face or if he's got like this arrogant smirk on his face. But they cut to him tonight, and he had one like I haven't seen since 2017.
Yes,
and it's like he's like, I know that I'm the interim. Like you guys aren't ready for interim head coach Jim Schwartz.
If you guys remember, before the 2017 season, people weren't sold on Doug Pederson yet. And there was this report that Jim Schwartz was aiming for Doug Peterson's job. Here we are 3 years later. That report might not be out yet. Like Jim Schwartz could take over. And for the Eagles, they've had offensive-minded coaches for a long time because they had Andy Reid for so long and then went to Chip Kelly and then they went to Doug Peterson. So I don't know if Jim Schwartz is the guy, but he's definitely like a guy right now who's on the sideline, look like the Oprah gif where he's just like shrugging his shoulders and being like, it's not my problem. Like you look at all these problems and none of them are caused by me.
Who else are they going to promote? Deuce? They didn't even want to make him offensive coordinator. They promoted nobody instead of Deuce.
That is. I'm glad you brought that up because there's like a laundry list of things wrong with the Eagles, and I think if you're doing like Eagles fuck up bingo, the broadcast did a great job of like hitting on everything. Like we got a JJ Arcega-Whiteside instead of DK Metcalf, and
They were roasting you guys.
I know. And what's crazy about DK, I'll get into him quickly before I get back into my point, but I feel like Darius Slay was in good coverage. Like the announcers would say it too. They'd be like, Darius Slay was there. It's just that DK Metcalf still caught it. So
yeah, they have Terry Crews as a wide receiver. What are you gonna do?
Dude, but it's getting like watching LeBron play, where it's just
like LeBron.
He gets away with everything because he's just so much physically more gifted than anybody else on the field or the court in LeBron's case. But like it's been multiple weeks where he instigates a fight and then the other guy like takes a swing at the bully and they're like, oh, well, you can't do that. Like now we got to give you a 15-yard penalty. Like it happened last Thursday too, where like DK Metcalf just hauls off on somebody despite being 5 inches taller and like 40 pounds of muscle more. And then the ref is like, well, I'm going to throw it on this flag on this 5'10" guy over here. Like, come on, throw us a bone.
No. How about that? No, you're that bad. You don't get freebies.
Can we talk about the broadcast team? Did you have a point? Because I want to get into the broadcast team whenever we get a second.
That's what I was going to say with the broadcast team is that I thought they did a good job like hitting on the fuck up bingo. And I think like the DK Metcalf thing was one of them, but I thought that they did a pretty good job of presenting what I've been screaming from the mountaintop on this podcast. They're like, okay, let's take you through this play. Where do you want Carson Wentz to throw this football? Like there's nobody open and he gets 3 seconds of time. What is Jalen Hurts going to do that isn't like he's not going to do? So
Jalen Hurts is shooting 100.
What's that?
He's shooting 100. Jalen went 1 for 1. I mean,
that's true, dude.
I mean,
perfect QBR.
I think his QBR was like 98. It wasn't even perfect.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, but I'll get into Jalen Hurts later because that's obviously like the bane of my existence now that Al Horford's gone. But Vince, if you want to get into the announcers, let's do it because I thought they were key tonight. There was like, we're going to play a lot of nationally televised games. So you're getting like A-list people instead of these D-list people. So let's get into them because I thought they did a good job.
So we're usually recording during Monday Night Football. So I'm usually just watching on mute.
Yeah.
Is Louis Riddick on every Monday?
He is, yes.
Yeah.
All right. But did it feel like he was really pandering to Philly fans?
Yeah, 100%.
I think
he was really breaking down what the Eagles need to do to fix their team. And he was really roasting Howie Roseman the entire game. And this is the guy who for years people have been saying the next guy that's going to get tapped to be GM is Louis Riddick. So I feel like he's trying to get the Philly fan base on his side and get Jeffrey Lurie to like hear us and bring in Louis Riddick.
He went like 5 minutes about Lurie too.
What's that?
Wasn't it Riddick who went on the not rant, but he talked about the owner missing last week's game because he went to like Thanksgiving. That was Riddick, I think. There's like 5 minutes just like ball washing him.
That was the time where where what Vince made a great point. Like that was during that time where he's like, look, like he sucked up to the owner and then he pretty much threw the front office under the bus. But he's not wrong, but I also like see where he's coming from. And it's just so funny in Philadelphia. Like, okay, so Louis Riddick, like, we're just going to hire half of ESPN. Louis Riddick's going to be the GM. Dan Orlovsky's going to be quarterback, offensive coordinator, coach. Is Kirk Herbstreit going to be our head coach next year? Like, come on. But they are two like really smart guys. And like, I'm really glad that they're on the side of the Eagles and not like Max Kellerman. You know, like if it was somebody who just has like baseless takes and they were on our side, I'd be a little bit worried. But when it's like people with sound logic and reason being like, this is what's wrong with the Eagles, I'm like, okay, I'm regaining my sanity here.
Does Max Kellerman have the worst position in like all of TV? This is completely off topic, but is he just in like the worst spot of anyone ever?
Yeah, he was great on Sports Nation too, and he's just
the thing like. There's a production meeting before every single one of those TV shows. And it's like when they got 2 options of a debate. Who do you think is going to get the better one? The guy making $50 million or $10 million a year to do the job, or Max Kellerman. So he's going to get the worst side of every debate. So like, I feel like he doesn't believe half the stuff he says.
I don't know if you guys saw it, but this kind of brings it full circle. But they were for the 180th straight day in a row, they were talking about whether Carson Wentz should be the starting quarterback for the Eagles, which is a yes. But Dan Orlovsky was on with Max Cal. I saw that smirk from DA. But Dan Orlovsky, like, I know, like, there's a production meeting, like you said, and like this is kind of staged. I think Dan Orlovsky like actually hates Max Kellerman. Like, they were arguing today, and Dan Orlovsky hit him with bullet point after bullet point of like what's wrong with the Eagles. Here's what they can do to get back on track. And he presented like a sound argument, like some grad school kid presenting his thesis so that he could get a diploma and go on and like have a job. Like, his whole career depended on this debate. And Max Kellerman just responds and just goes, you know, Carson Wentz is just like, he's the worst quarterback in the league right now. And Dan Orlovsky nearly walked off the set. Like, he was just like, he had it. Like, he was just done.
I hate to agree with Max, but he brings up a great point.
No, he does not. Who is the quarterback? Here's a trivia question. Like, who's the quarterback in Jacksonville right now?
Who's the quarterback in Denver?
In Denver, that's true. I actually, well, you know, Drew Lock, when he's starting, isn't even as good as Carson Wentz.
No, Drew Lock stinks. I don't know why anyone thought that guy was good. That guy's a bum.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, Denver they're in the opposite predicament of the Eagles. So let's get into
I was going to say that. I was going to say Denver is like the bizarre world Eagles.
Yeah, I would say so. It's like an alternate reality. So what they did in the draft, they're like, okay, we have a quarterback. We need to see if he's going to work out. We are going to focus our entire offseason on weapons. So they got Jerry Jeudy. They drafted KJ Hamler. They signed Melvin Gordon. They're like, and they have Noah Fant coming back. They have Philip Lindsay. They were like, we're just going to figure out, no ifs, ands, or buts, if this kid is good or not. And the Eagles were like, we're going to be a fucking quarterback factory, baby.
Make sure you buy a shirt.
Like, they were like, should we find out if Carson Wentz is good, or should we draft his backup who can throw one pass a game? Like, what should we do?
What's crazier? Just putting Jalen Hurts in to throw one pass, or having Miles Sanders run the ball 7 times?
Miles Sanders. Don't even answer. It's Miles Sanders. That's the correct answer.
For me, it hurts because it's just like I stay up at night and just think about like how bad of a draft pick that is. But no, I agree. But I think the Miles Sanders thing is the issue. Like, if you looked at the Seahawks defensive front, they have their front 4. They have 2 linebackers up there. Jamal Adams plays up at the line. It's like they were like, okay, you were going to throw it 50 times and you have no say in the matter. And we talked about this, me and Kevin did, about our teams in a trickle-down effect. So they have 7 or 8 guys in the box because they're like, who the hell on the Eagles is going to beat us over the top?
Right.
So we can't run the ball. So now Wentz throws the ball 45 times, and the line can't block, so he gets sacked 6 times. And the receivers can't get open, so it's forced into bad throws and interceptions. It's like this long trickle-down effect of just like never drafting a Pro Bowl playmaker, ever. And you see, like, Russell Wilson has gotten pressured this year. Nobody talks about it, though, because he has weapons on the outside that he can throw to and bail him out, like DK Metcalf. And did JJ Arcega-Whiteside even play today? Did he even have a single target?
I don't think he actually touched the field.
Is he still on the team?
Barely. Like, they may cut him after this year, and it's been 2 years. And that's really sad. And DK Metcalf is at the point where he was drafted 60th overall. So it's not like we get a lot of shit for missing on him, which is fair. Like, I'm critical of the Eagles of that. But everybody in the league literally missed this guy twice, and I'm not sure how. But the Eagles, I think, why – what's that?
Even the Seahawks missed him twice.
Even the Seahawks missed him, yep, and came back around at pick 60. I think why people get on the Eagles so much is because of how many instances there are. And I really feel like tonight, Eddie, you touched on it, and Vince, you touched on it as well with Louis Riddick, kind of like shitting on the GM, Howie Roseman. I really think tonight was like this, like when I talk about funeral, I'm wearing black on purpose. No one noticed because it's a funeral. I really think like tonight was the night where people realize who the real villain is. You know, that meme on Twitter is like the movie villain versus the actual villain. Like right now, the actual villain is Howie Roseman, and the broadcast crew broke it down. And I think everybody saw it, because I think what a lot of people do is you're not watching the Eagles on a weekly basis, which thank God, like I would not project this to my worst enemy. And you're just looking at stat lines, and you're looking at Wentz's stat line, and you're like, this is horrible. Like, this guy sucks. Like, how could, and you watch Get Up on ESPN, and they show him turning the ball over twice, and you're like, this guy's horrible. Like, why would they want to start this guy? But then you watch them on national TV, and I think people like really see what the issue is. And it is years after years of not drafting well, not developing well. And it just felt around the entire city today that it culminated tonight with a needless QB controversy, with DK Metcalf playing well, J.J. Arcega-Whiteside not even playing. Justin Jefferson had 2 touchdowns this week. Jeremy Chin, who was drafted after Jalen Hurts, getting 2 fumble returns for a touchdown, literally the first time since World War II. All of that culminated in one weekend, and I think everybody realized like who the real problem is. Like, this was Howie Roseman's last day in Philadelphia.
I think there's been 3 glaring problems for the Eagles all year, and it's been Doug Pederson's game plan. Mm-hmm. It's been Carson Wentz hasn't been playing well at all, and It's been the offensive line, wide receiver, and there's not being the right personnel. And I think all of that is how falls on Howie Roseman. Yeah. And I think tonight put it all in order. It's Howie, Doug, Carson.
Yes, I totally agree. Like, you can almost see that totem pole of importance like playing in, because like you see Doug Pederson forcing it and making bonehead coaching decisions, and like going for it on 4th and 4 maybe would work if you had the talent around him, but he doesn't. And you see Carson Wentz like getting sacked, and you're like, well, maybe he had a guy, but he ran out of time. And you're right, like it all comes back to Howie Roseman. And just somebody in The Athletic, I'm forgetting the name, but they wrote a really good article the other day kind of breaking this down and being like, yeah, Wentz is an issue, but he is not the issue. In fact, he's the only Pro Bowl player they've drafted in the past half decade. And before him, it was Lane Johnson. Like, you've gone a full decade and you've drafted 4 Fletcher Cox, Lane Johnson, Zach Ertz, Carson Wentz. You've drafted 4 Pro Bowl players in 10 years.
We're not going to count Brandon Graham. You're going to disrespect Brandon Graham.
Wow. I'm pretty sure he's an 11-year veteran, correct?
He's this year will be his first Pro Bowl.
Yeah, so technically
he hasn't made one yet.
Come on.
Congratulations on 5 Pro Bowl players in literally a decade's worth of time. Like, that's hard to do. In 2017, the Saints drafted 5 Pro Bowl players in one draft. And you look at a team like that, they're like, the Eagles want to do all these cool niche things like the Saints do with Taysom Hill. You know why they can do things like that with Taysom Hill? Because when you hit on an entire draft and you have Marshawn Lattimore and Ryan Ramczyk and Alvin Kamara, like when you draft like that, then you can go do gimmick shit like be a quarterback factory. And I think that's really the issue. That'll be the final nail in the coffin, is that Jalen Hurts thing. I just keep coming back to it, but you could just tell.
It's just like with this and like the Daryl Morey drafting for the Sixers, like completely like put everything into perspective for me. Like, when you're looking at a draft or free agency, look at what the problems on the team are and then fix them. It's really not that hard.
I know.
Daryl Morey was like, you guys have no shooters. Let's get some. and then ready? He got some. It's not that hard.
You're kidding. Wait, stop it. In Philadelphia?
It could all be so
sure. I'm sure they're all going to have like lower body non-contact soft tissue injuries within the next 2 weeks, or someone's going to eat a peanut and they're deathly allergic to it and they're going to be on their deathbed in a month.
If you don't think Steph Curry is shooting 27% from 3 this year,
you for sure happening.
Philadelphia sports line.
The spacing on that team is unbelievable.
But then seeing that, and then like that made me think about the Eagles. Like, why the hell would you take a quarterback in the second round?
You're so
right.
I'm a Hurts guy. I mostly because I liked him at Oklahoma. Like, I don't think you think he's gonna be that good on the Eagles. At this point, Wentz isn't gonna win you a game. whether it's his fault or the line's fault or the receiver, whoever's fault it is, he's not going to win you the game. You already wasted a pick on a quarterback. Play the quarterback.
Well, see, here's the issue is now, like, everybody knows it. Like, my brand is like Carson Wentz supporter, like upper 1% of them.
Right.
But the issue with Jalen Hurts is you could play him right now, but is he going to win you another game either? Because you have so many other holes. Like, I genuinely feel bad for this kid because he is set up in a position to fail, that even if they find a way to move on from Carson Wentz, like, what does Jalen Hurts do differently? Like, they're showing these plays and they're like, okay, it's 3rd and 8. And they do all 22 and nobody's open. And Alshon Jeffrey looks like a hobbled old man on a cane and a walker with no feet.
He got his first pass this season today.
Yes, he had 2. And
it's like week 10, right?
What's that?
It's like week 10, right?
Yes.
Well,
okay.
I can't.
So it's worse.
Way worse.
It's even worse. The tie always throws me off. Like, I go in terms of like Eagles.
Ruins
like
me.
Well, I only remember because I have to do the power rankings for you guys every week. That's the only reason I know a week.
You know what week it is. Yeah. So that's one of my issues with Jalen Hurts is, like, who's he going to throw to? Like, Alshon Jeffrey, who's 32 going on 62, you know? Like, he moves like we always use the Jason Peters example. So I won't use like the old dog example, but he does have those hips of like an old dog who used to run around the yard, but now just like fetches the ball once and then goes and lays down. Like, that kind of feels like Alshon Jeffrey right now. So like, bring Hurts in. That's fine. Like, I advocated for this and blogged about it this week. Like, start Jalen Hurts. Like, find out. Nothing's going to change. And when you don't, when nothing changes, you're going to realize that Howie Roseman is the actual villain. It doesn't really matter who the quarterback is because you don't have the weapons around them to make either of them successful. And the other thing, somebody brought this up today. I forget what station it was. But you talk about it like you have Jalen Hurts on a rookie deal, which would be great. But you don't even get to take advantage of that because if you release Carson Wentz, you're $50 million in the hole. So it's like, what was the point? Like, you don't even get the steal of the draft because technically you're like, to play this steal, you have to lose $50 million to do it. It's just none of it makes sense.
I think my biggest thing with the quarterback situation in Philly is, like I said, Carson Wentz, for whatever reason, you can argue until you're blue in the face that he's still good. I don't care. I do not care.
I have literally done that.
He's a bum. It's fine. We can disagree about it, whatever. The fact is, you have 3 wins and you tied the Bengals. He's not going to win you a game. That's just a fact. It's so much. I feel like does so much more damage to Hurts in the long run, or even in the short term, to have him come in for a couple plays or for like a trick play here or there each game instead of just give him a start, give him a full week, practice with the ones, give him a start on a Sunday, see what you have.
I just feel bad for the kid because he's getting nothing legit on tape. Like, the Eagles aren't going to re-sign him. So like, after this is like, he's getting no real film. No one really, like, he only comes in for these horribly drawn up gadget plays.
They're so bad too. Like, they're not even like he can run and you can do a gadget play, whatever. He's still like a decent quarterback in college. He can throw the ball.
Like, he's going to sit down. He's going to sit down with like the Jets or the Broncos or somebody, be like, look how good I can hand the ball off. Like, I give it right to him every time. That's always going to have the show.
The Jets could really use that right now.
The Jets could use somebody who just turn around and hand it off and get out of the way.
Yeah.
The Broncos too this week.
Go ahead.
What I was going to say is just like, okay, like, that's fine. We can start Jalen Hurts, but Vince, you're right. Like, he's in such a bad position. He's pretty much in like NFL purgatory. Like, he's not a starter. They clearly don't believe that he's a starter, but he's on this rookie deal with them. There's a clear like obstacle for him starting and ever proving himself. So like, when do you ever find out? When you have this much money tied up in Carson Wentz, when do you ever find out if Jalen Hurts is the guy? Like, are the Eagles going to have a $50 million dead cap backup quarterback? You just can't. And no one's going to trade for him. Like, you have created an insurmountable mess where even if Jalen Hurts comes in and plays well, you wouldn't be able to like really help him because instead of like signing, like go back to DeAndre Hopkins wanting a new deal. The Eagles couldn't give him that because you're paying Jalen Hurts' backup quarterback now, and to release him, it would cost $50 million.
Well, it's 50 next year, and then it's 26 the year after.
Okay, so maybe in 2 years,
maybe
we'll still be going on the same carousel. I will be in an insane asylum by then. Birds vs. Boys will just be like Vince creating TikToks of Kevin drinking.
that might play. That might
actually play. That'll be our podcast, and I will be insane if I have to do this for another year.
Oh, my other question was: paint me a picture of what the quarterback room looks like. It's Carson Wentz, Nate Sudfeld, and Jalen Hurts alone in a room. What does that look like?
With Josh McCown on Zoom.
He's on the Texans.
He got which sucks because like you saw the value of like having a guy who's in Texas and not with the team because now he doesn't have COVID.
You could probably I'd probably rather run Josh McCown out there instead of Wentz at this point.
Are either of you guys young enough?
And it resulted in the same type of loss to the Seahawks. You literally know the result.
Yeah. Well,
are either of you young enough to watch Ned's Declassified when you were younger?
Yeah.
Oh, hell yeah.
Come on.
Do you remember the teacher that was just a lady with a computer and it's like she rolled around on like this cart?
Yes.
Yeah.
That was Josh McCown.
Yeah.
When he was on the team, like, didn't it? And this is another issue that I have with the Eagles. It's just all coming out. Like, this is my concession speech, pretty much. But like, Trey Thomas brought this up online. No coach ever sits with the quarterbacks like you see on other teams like sidelines. Like you see a guy either throw a touchdown or a pick, and somebody is sitting with him with one of those Microsoft tablets being like, here's where the safety was. Here's where the linebacker was. Here's where you should have threw the ball. Here's where you did throw the ball, you dumbass. Like nobody does that with Carson Wentz. Like he's on the sideline. And it's like him and Nate Sudfeld, like they could be looking at play. They could be on Pornhub. Nobody knows. Like there's no coach around. Nobody.
There's no supervision
for guidance at all.
The good news is though, I think we probably have the most socially distant quarterback room of anyone in the NFL. Like I don't think what happened to the Broncos would happen to the Eagles.
It would be
like
hilarious
I don't think
if it did. Not in that. Not if they all got COVID.
I don't think Jalen Hurts has been near the other two of them, like close enough to get COVID all year. Why would he be?
Like had a conversation with Wentz before, like ever?
It's probably been, hey man, I hate you. It's not your fault. You can't do anything about it. I just don't like you.
I think they have therapy sessions. Like I don't think either of them want to be in Philadelphia. Like they probably just sit there because there's like it's like a work day when your boss isn't there. So you just spend the whole day talking about how much you hate your job with your employees. Like if that quarterback room is what it's like and what it seems like, and like there's no guidance, there's no instruction, there's nobody going over anything with these guys. Like I feel like him and Jalen actually get along in their vitriol and hate for the Philadelphia Eagles. Like neither of them actually want to be in Philadelphia at this point. They're probably like, you know who really fucking sucks? That guy Howie Roseman, you know? You know who really a dumbass who puts us in bad positions? Doug Pederson. Like, I feel like just sitting there, like they might have something in common that they both hate everybody else that's outside of that room.
That's true. Ideally, in my head, they bond over how much they hate the situation they're in. But just from how, in 2017, the locker room was just so upbeat and happy all the time, and it's just not that anymore. So I don't think those two get along at all.
I don't know. I do feel like they do. But there is that chemistry from the 2017 team is gone. I don't know. Like, but part of it is just winning. Like, if you win, like if you beat the Seahawks tonight, everybody's all hunky dory. Like, oh, we all came together as a team. Everybody was against us in the media, so we rallied together. But I mean, the defense seems like they like each other still. But it's just a matter of winning. Like, if they won,
they're good.
Yeah, exactly.
Are they good, or is your coordinator good?
No, they're good.
I think they're good. Yeah, like
I think your like defensive line's like decent. I think
Jim Schwartz coached a winless team. I think the players are good.
That's true.
Jim Schwartz is about to coach your 7-1 team.
Yeah, we are trending that way. Like, how crazy is that to say? Like, we are trending toward Jim Schwartz being the interim coach for Super Bowl winning coach Doug Pederson. Like, I cannot believe that I am sitting up at this point and just like talking about this.
How many
I mean,
0-16 teams have there been? It was them. It was Hugh Jackson's Browns, and who else?
The
Am I too young to
2020
not
New
know?
York Jets.
Oh, yeah, true.
They're upcoming.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, would he be a good coach? No, probably not. I always look at the Clemson situation like they're really good because their defensive coordinator always stays and doesn't move on to a new job, and he doesn't go on and now I'm the coach at South Carolina, I got my big break. Like he knows his role. Like I'm going to be the guy at Clemson who's the defensive coordinator. I'll get paid pretty well. I'll never be the head guy, but I have my role pretty carved out. Like I think Jim Schwartz, I'm sure he wants to be a head coach again, but he is very clearly just a good defensive coordinator. Like he is a solid 8 out of 10 defensive coordinator, probably 7 out of 10.
I just thought of a spin zone. Okay. They hire him as head coach. He's a defensive guy, so obviously he can't call plays. He has to hire an offensive coordinator. That offensive coordinator ends up being, if it's not Deuce Staley, it's someone who is, some sort of offensive guru, and then we win the Super Bowl.
There you
Hold
go.
on. I have the best offensive coordinator for you, and it will solve everyone's problems.
Oh God.
I'm going to hate this answer.
Josh McDaniels.
He's the asshole who put us in this situation to begin with. If he just takes the Colts job, Frank Reich stays, and we don't have half the fucking issues that we have.
Frank Reich
he
never
was gone.
stays. Frank Reich's gone. Frank Reich's the reason you won a Super Bowl. Everyone knows it. That's why he's gone. He was getting the head coaching job immediately.
But Remember, he interviewed with the Colts. They offered it to Josh McDaniels. Josh McDaniels was like, yes. And then he was like, wait, no, I'm just going to stay.
Well, Jim Irsay he was going off either drugs or alcohol when he offered Josh, or both. He's probably driving too, knowing Jim. That's when he offered Josh McDaniels the job.
And then he was like, whoa.
This probably isn't the best business decision.
He sobered up and he was like, wait, well, this is probably one of my worst ideas. I should probably think about what I should actually do here.
Honestly,
Jim would have gone Frank Reich would have gone somewhere.
I'm trying to remember.
I think he would have been here one more year.
We would have won another one.
And we would have won another one. If Alshon Jeffrey doesn't drop the ball in New Orleans. It's one of those things though. Like, it's not that we don't have a incompetent offensive coordinator. We don't talk about this enough. Like, there's certain things with the Eagles that get overlooked because all we do is argue about who should start at quarterback. Like, this team doesn't have an offensive coordinator. Like, in 2020, they do not have an offensive coordinator. Like, the game is trending towards like a glorified 7-on-7, and they didn't think like it was necessary to have a guy whose only goal was to just run the offense.
Honestly, I didn't know that you didn't have an offensive coordinator.
Yeah.
I had no idea. I think the Pats don't have a defensive coordinator. I thought they were the only ones in the league that were just like, nah, we're just not going to hire anyone.
No, Bill Belichick is the only one that can get away with that.
Yeah, well, Doug Pederson definitely can. We know that for sure.
Belichick could definitely get away with that because there's 20 years of proof. It's like,
well, he's basically been the defensive coordinator the whole time anyway.
Yeah, Patricia just got fired, so he's a bum.
I was about to say, yeah, he was kind of in the way. Like Bill Belichick, I finally got rid of that dead weight. Then I could take it back over.
Patricia was just a placeholder for like Bill to just run the defense anyway.
He had to have a guy, like a fall guy. Like if the defense gave up like 27 points, he'd be like, well, ask my defensive coordinator what happened. But in reality, like he's the defensive guy for sure.
I think the reason McDaniels is still here is because Bill wanted to run the defense and was like, I can't do both, guys. Like, I'm only so much of a man.
And he has his son waiting in the wings to take over for him. He'll eventually be defensive coordinator.
I hope not. That guy stinks. That guy stinks. I don't know why, but like just his face and his mullet, I cannot with Steve Belichick. I cannot.
It is a bad look. Like he definitely has the look of the guy. Remember the Entourage movie? He literally looks like the son who calls the shots for the dad in the Entourage movie, and the dad is well respected, but the son is kind of just like a jerk.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what it is. Like, there's no way Steve Belichick isn't a dickhead.
That's kind of how I get the feel there.
And then OJ Mayo's there too, and just like, I don't know why you have both of them. Like, I don't know who's doing what, but you don't need both of them. I know that.
That's how I feel about Wentz and Hurts. I don't know who's doing what, but we don't need both of these
We
guys.
definitely don't need Wentz for sure. Don't need that guy.
Back to Wentz. I thought of this question earlier. I was gonna have Kevin ask you, but I guess I'll just ask you. So
Okay.
go back to 2015. Carson Wentz isn't a thought, right?
Okay.
The Eagles are obviously moving on from Sam Bradford. It didn't work out. Your options are trade up to number. Were they 2? Did they Carson to 2?
Yeah, they traded up to 2.
Yeah, I'm too young to remember. They either trade up to 2, or they trade for they trade for Kirk Cousins, Matt Stafford, someone you know. No, hold on. Someone you know what you're going to get from them every single week. They're consistently here. Or they trade up to number 2 and you're told they can get a quarterback that's like super high ceiling, but like their floor is like super, super low. They basically tell you how Carson Wentz's career is going without saying it's Carson Wentz. Forget that the guy's a redhead. Completely take yourself out of it like that.
So just
Are you
like
taking-
Carson Wentz with brown hair.
Are you taking completely consistent, you know what you're getting every week, the team can build around what they know they have, or super inconsistent but has a super high ceiling?
I'm going with the super high ceiling because isn't knowing what we had like what got us in trouble for so many years after McNabb in the first place? Like Sam Bradford was a guy who was the definition of mediocrity and average. So if you're moving on from him, are you going to move on to another guy who's like, okay, he'll have his good days, he'll have his bad days. Most times he'll throw for 250, 2 TDs and a pick. Like, would that get you anywhere? And back in 2015, we were still so desperate for a Super Bowl. Like, I feel like you have to take the risk and just like find the guy, like find the quarterback. You'd be willing to take that risk. So I think I don't think you go with the even keel guy, but I'll even go as far as this. Like, I keep coming back to this. Like, we keep ragging on Wentz, and some of it is deserved, but let's go back in that time machine to 2015. Say the Rams are enamored with Wentz and take him at 1, and we end up with Goff. Like, what is Jared Goff doing in this offense? Like, we are blaming Carson Wentz for all of these problems for being 3-7-1. If Jared Goff was on this team, is this team not 3-7-1? And I know it's a, like recency bias. He played terrible yesterday, but the Rams are 7-4. And do you guys look at Jared Goff and you're like, he's that much better? Like, it just like goes. I think they're the perfect example of just like going to show what a system can do for a quarterback. Not to say they're system QBs, but just like having an offense in place with an offensive minded coach and just like having weapons around them and having a good offensive line.
I think the big thing that is getting overlooked here is Carson is the definition of mediocrity.
How?
He's 17, 20, and 1 since 2017. That's mediocre at best.
No, but here, okay. So you can break his career into like chapters, and like the 1 year where they gave him weapons, he went 11-2, and then he comes back after that injury, and like there's been this slow decline that like the epitomize and climax today with the Seahawks game, where like on national TV the announcers are saying these receivers suck in the most politically correct way possible. It's like you can see his regression is just trailing the regression of the team itself. And that's what I talk about all the time. Like, if you put him on the Colts tomorrow, do you still think he's mediocre? Like, answer it honestly. Like, if he's on the Colts, is he bad?
I think
If he's on the
are
Colts
worse with him than they are with Rivers.
Really?
Yeah, for sure.
With
If
I
he's on the
don't
Colts-
think he is good. I think Rivers is better than Carson Wentz.
Oh,
If-
I think
Car-
the Eagles are awful top to bottom. I think because of 2017, you give Carson Wentz so much like rope, he's gonna hang himself. He's been hanging him for.
I'm gonna hang myself.
You might
If
need.
you
to-
put-
Putting up with this shit, I'm gonna hang
That is
myself.
crazy that you guys. He leads the league in interceptions, fumbles, sacks. Like he can't hold on to the ball. He holds on to the ball way too long. Like you always say. This I'm getting heated up now. I love it.
If
Okay.
somebody was open,
Your
he wouldn't be
line-
holding
your-
on to the ball.
Your line is so bad. Half the league has a bad line. Your receivers are so bad. Half the league has bad receivers.
Hold on, you know who doesn't have a bad line or bad receivers? The Indianapolis Colts.
You know who's a bad quarterback? Carson Wentz.
If you put him with the coach he had success with and he has a line and receivers and a good running back tandem exactly like he had in 2017, that's easily the best team in the NFL.
It's like the Daryl Morey thing. Like you're looking at it and you're like, you bring up the Vince with the Colts. Like you're looking at it and you're like, okay, 2 good running backs, good offensive line. They have playmakers. They have multiple tight ends. If he was in that system the exact same way as 2017, you'd probably expect the exact same result. Like it could be very easy if they made it that way. It's just that the Eagles don't make it that way.
And that goes back to the question
with Rivers than they do with Wentz. 100%.
I really don't. At this
100%.
At one point, you may have had like a debate, but at this point in Phillip Rivers' career, like I just don't see it.
No,
he's not far from. No.
I promise you, 100%.
I feel like I'm not even being a Carson Wentz defender.
I'm not kidding at all. 100%.
I don't even feel like a Carson Wentz defender when I say like he's better than Phillip Rivers at age 38. Like I feel like I'm just like a sane, reasonable human being here.
No, you would think that, but no.
I don't see it, but I'll keep going back to my point. It's like I don't think Carson. I think Carson Wentz is going to have a career post Philadelphia very soon, and I think he's going to do well. I think he'll be better than Phillip freaking Rivers, but I just don't. I don't know if it'll be here anymore, and I just don't think it's. I tend to take the blame off his plate. You may have noticed.
No,
but me? Who would have guessed?
I couldn't believe it.
But like next year starts and it's the same team, just put in Jalen Hurts. Like I just don't see how that changes anything.
No, I think you're probably right around the same record.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So like, why ride that carousel? Like, there's just no point. Like, I am on an endless carousel of insanity, talking about Jalen Hurts and Carson Wentz, and just like never addressing the fact that all of our cornerbacks are 5'2". None of the linebackers can cover a single tight end. They have multiple holes in the offensive line, and the defensive line, their best 2 free agency acquisitions the past 2 years, just don't do anything on the defensive line. I just can't keep going down this route, but that's all we do.
I will defend Wentz in saying I think what they're doing with Hurts is not only hurting Hurts, it is hurting the fuck out of Wentz.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I mean, just the constant, I'm not sure who's going to play. You're bringing Hurts to play like here and there. There's rumors that the owner wants Wentz pulled. Like that's not a good culture for success.
No, not at all. I'm glad you brought it up because there was a sequence there where I did go on a mini tirade in my living room. I got a little bit fired up. I said some mean words, said some explicitives that need to be bleeped out, where it was they brought Hurts in for a play, but they didn't know what the play was. They had both quarterbacks standing on the field. So they had to call timeout. They bring Hurts back in, and I might be getting the sequence messed up in my head, but then he gets called for – he leads to a false start. Like the offense is out of sync. He throws a pass. Now it's 3rd and 8. Then they bring Wentz back in and put him in 3rd and long. Like who did that benefit in that scenario and that sequence of events? Who benefited from that? Hurts, Wentz, Doug Pederson, the offense, anybody. Nobody benefits from playing that style where it's like, okay, he's going to play for 2 plays and then come back out.
Yeah, no, and I've heard people say like, have Wentz play the first half, put Hurts in for the second. That's the same thing as putting Hurts in for 1 play. It doesn't benefit anyone, but I do, Aidan, that sequence you described perfectly. What happened on that 3rd down?
I honestly, I feel like it was incompletion because I was still on my tirade.
Wentz got sacked.
Yeah. Okay.
I had no point. I just want to let you know that your guy gets sacked constantly.
Yeah, okay. But you see like where I'm coming from, like on my side of the debate, like they bring Jalen Hurts in, they have to burn a timeout. They get called for a penalty. He sets them up for 3rd and long. Then they bring Wentz back in and they're like, okay, bail us out of this terrible situation that we put ourselves in, 3rd and long with these receivers who can't get open, and he gets sacked. Like, I don't know who's supposed to succeed when this is the environment and culture that they've created.
No,
Carson Wentz needs to call Eagles HR and report a toxic work environment because they're not making this easy for him.
No.
I
But
think
you know
they're
what?
harsh.
You know what happens? You know what usually happens when someone complains to HR about a toxic work environment? That person just leaves.
Yeah. Well,
He'll go
leave.
somewhere where he fits better.
Yeah, he will. Those are my takeaways from tonight. Like tonight was a culmination of all of the complaints that you have had about tonight was the roast of the Eagles front office. Like the announcers were doing it, we've been doing it for weeks, fans were doing it. Like today was just like the culmination of all of those things. And you're gonna watch Carson leave. And you're going to still be a bad franchise who isn't in a position to win for the next half decade because you didn't draft well. And it's like, okay, in the next part that we got to talk about, and we'll probably get into this when Kevin's back on, but we're going to have a top 10 draft pick. It's looking like, do you trust who's in charge to make that pick? Because I don't think you can. And I'm not going to keep harping on the Hurts thing because you can present 100 examples of bad picks over this past decade. And it's all coming back to Howie Roseman. Like, how do you trust this front office with a draft that's going to determine your kind of future for the next half decade?
Do you want to see the dumbest tweet I've ever seen?
Is it my
Sure, as long as it's not from me.
It's not who you think it's from. Pro Football Talk. Since it's apparently open season on Howie Roseman from the broadcast booth tonight, let's remember this. He won a Super Bowl 3 years ago. Is that not the worst tweet you've ever seen?
I don't get the logic. Like, okay.
Yo, who else also won a Super Bowl 3 years ago? Nick Foles,
who doesn't even start in Chicago. You know who won a Super Bowl 3 years ago? Doug Pederson. You know? Like, that's just like the dumbest thing to say. Remember that time? Like, that'd be like if you're in a friendship and a guy helps you move and, you know, you got a flat tire, he comes out for you, he does everything for you. And like one time you help him carry in his groceries and you're like, remember 3 years ago when I took in your groceries, like your hands were full, so I like grabbed the last bag. Remember when I did that for you? Like, okay.
So that tweet's funny because it's for sure just an awful tweet all around, but it's also like the same defense that everyone uses for Carson. He was really good 3 years ago.
That's my problem. It's like, okay, so we're gonna give Howie Roseman another chance, but we're gonna run Carson Wentz out the door.
No, I think you gotta get rid of everybody, all of them.
Hold up, that brings up another question. So we like 3 people are a problem on this team right now. 3 people are.
I was gonna say there's a lot more than 3.
Well, everyone that isn't Carson Wentz is all Howie Roseman's fault. I'm putting that all on him.
Thank you.
Because
okay,
I can't think of a player on this team that's technically underperforming. Everyone's performing exactly as well as you think they're supposed to.
There's bad players.
That might be the saddest part. Is you're
no one's playing,
and you're like, who is like, aside from I'd say Malik Jackson and Javon Hargrave, the 2 free agency signings that were like big signings on the defensive line, I'd say they're underperforming. But everybody else is performing at the bar that you would expect.
Yeah, like
and no one's 3 and 7.
Yeah. Everyone's doing their best, right? Whether like some people are hurt, they can't really help that. You know who can help that? Howie Roseman.
Yeah, it's like
we can't use the injury defense anymore, though.
No,
your team is about as healthy as it gets
at
this point of the year.
No,
I'm compared to other teams.
The entire offense, it's like one position group, though.
Yeah,
I think you could have used it. I mean, you could have certainly used it at points this year. Where I mean,
sure, and all of last year for definitely.
Yeah. But at this point, I think like you're beyond the injury. Injuries definitely played a role, but like I said, it's the culmination. Like if you last year, you could blame it on injuries. Like you made the playoffs and you should have been better than you were, but you had injuries, so you had that. So like okay, but and there's always that but. Like they were injured, but they should have been better. And it's like you know, like J.J. Arcega-Whiteside sucks and DK Metcalf is good. But, you know, like you have Deshaun Jackson, you have Alshon Jeffrey, maybe they'll give you something. There's always those buts. And now that they're all adding up together, that's when you get in trouble. Remember that episode in The Office where like Andy goes off on a vacation and he's using like the printer for colored like photo shots of himself so he can be an actor and he's constantly out of the office. And David Wallace comes in and he's like, eventually you give a guy enough chances and the ice gets thin, and that's when you fall through. That is where we're at with Howie Roseman. He has fallen through the ice.
So of the three of them, which one do you think goes first, and who do you think should go first? So that's two different questions.
So I think they're the same. I think, like I keep saying, like I think tonight was like the night where we're gonna look back and be like, this guy is the problem. Because we just did this with the Sixers, where there'd be nights where people would point at Joel Embiid and say that was a bad game. Like, you should have been better. You were the star. You should have been better. But then you like sit back and you watch enough, and you're like, well, he's in a double team. He can't kick it out because that guy can't shoot. He can't swing it around because that guy can't make a play. And you start to realize, like, oh man, like this problem goes beyond one guy. So I think the Eagles are in a very similar situation where the decision makers at the top have not drafted and developed well enough at all. I'd give them a D in terms of drafting. So I think Howie Roseman is the guy who's going to go. He'd be my guy who's going to go. Like anytime, I'm like, let's just go to the top and fire whoever is making decisions. But I think tonight was the night where people were like on the same page with me.
But with the Sixers thing, I understand it's not exactly the same thing, but they fired Brett Brown before they went and got Daryl Morey. You know what I mean? Or went and got a new front office.
That's true. That's where it varies. But even now, you know, like he was on thin ice before. In the previous regime were scumbags who rivaled ISIS in terms of how bad of human beings they were. So like they used Brett Brown as a scapegoat when really they should have been fired first. Like in terms of blame, like I still think it goes front office, Brett Brown, players. And you could make the case like, I mean, obviously Brett Brown probably deserved to be fired for sure. But the front office did too. And the Eagles could be in that same situation where they both could be out the door, timing who knows who goes first, but they both could be out the door. I think if Doug leaves, it's because Doug wants to go. He's another guy who just probably doesn't want to be here anymore.
Do you think they bring in a new GM? Do you give Doug and Carson another year?
I think they do. You know?
Do you think the new GM would want to?
I think the new GM would want to, unless the new GM is Eddie.
No, I think so here's my thing with even not even to like hate on Carson Wentz. I think this is actually what the Eagles are suffering from and what they need to. Yeah, no, for sure it's going to come out that way. I think they won the Super Bowl they weren't even supposed to be in that game. They won it. They beat the shit out of the Patriots. Woo, we celebrate.
Thank you.
And then you don't like continue to grow. Like you just, that's it. Like that, we're done now. But like you still expect the results and you still want to be that elite team. And now 2-3 years later, you're probably going to miss the playoffs. You're going to finish the year under 500. Like, it's just not like everyone needs to go. You need to go through like an actual rebuild instead of this. Well, let's draft the backup with a second round pick, even though we're paying Carson Wentz $1 billion.
Let's never do that ever. You know,
no, that's what I mean. You should not do that. As much as I think you need to at least give Hurts a shot, he shouldn't be on the team.
I know
that pick shouldn't have been made.
I know, but you're totally right in that. Like, so you have this core in 2017, and there's still players there like Lane Johnson, Brandon Brooks. You know, some of these guys are still Fletcher Cox, Brandon Graham, who are still playing really well and are still really good. And Zach Ertz is another one. I know he's been hurt, but like you had this core and you just never built on it. But I could see like a total blow up, but I feel like your job as the front office is just very simply two things. One, find talent. Two, keep that talent under the salary cap. And they just haven't done it. Like they
failed at both of those.
Yeah. they have a bloated roster in terms of salary because they're trying to find guys in free agency to plug for all the holes that they've missed in the draft. So like if you can't draft, like that is my starting position. Like roster construction is where I go back to the Sixers thing. Like we are in the same trajectory as the Sixers. Like roster construction is so important, and the person in charge of it has failed.
The way Howie Roseman treated this team was like, imagine if you're watching an episode of Property Brothers and they walk into this like old decrepit house that they're supposed to like fix up, and they're like, well, what if we, like painted this wall white? And they're like, that wall, like the wall across from it has like a hole in it. There's no wall there. Like, yeah, but like, what if we like put a really nice mirror here to really open up the room? It's like, no, listen, the house is falling apart. Let's address the real problem. Don't just make it look pretty.
We need new foundation, not just
the foundation has a gaping crack in it. Let's fix that.
Yeah,
But
look at you coming with the analogies. Usually,
Jalen Hurts is a granite countertop.
I really like that analogy that you used.
Yeah, Jalen Hurts is a granite countertop. Meanwhile, there's a crack in the foundation that you can put a toddler in.
Yeah, lava is seeping out from the center of the earth, but they're like, "Oh, look, we just found a nice chandelier."
Right. Exactly.
I
think you need to get rid of all of them.
What's the movie that Ryan Gosling remade? Like it was like a ghost movie. Ryan Gosling was in the remake, and like in the basement, there's like this hole that's like oozing stuff out of it that the ghosts are coming out of.
I thought you were gonna say The Notebook when he rebuilt the house.
I was thinking Notebook. I was thinking Notebook.
No, worse.
The one where he literally built the house.
No, like worse. In the basement, there's a hole with like bubbling ooze coming out of it, and just evil is seeping into the house.
And Ryan,
they're not fixing that
remake.
I have no idea.
But I don't think the remake wasn't good. I forget what movie it is. Amityville Horror.
Oh yeah. Okay, I know exactly what you're talking about. Yep.
I thought like you were going with Ghostbusters. I don't know. I was like, I know there was a remake of that, but I don't think Ryan Gosling was in it.
The first analogy.
The first analogy was on point though.
The first analogy was great, and then you're going with like the house thing and Ryan Gosling, and just like steered away from when Ryan Gosling literally built the house.
No, the first analogy is the Eagles winning the Super Bowl. The second analogy is Eagles in 2020.
An analogy on an analogy.
Yeah,
it's a double entendre.
But it is the perfect example of just it. I think it boils down like in a serious sense. At the end of every reign, hubris does in the leader, and I think hubris is done in Howie Roseman for being this salary cap wizard, and he built this team that won the first Super Bowl ever. So now you're taking chances when you got away from like the basics, and a team that valued up front and in the trenches. Now, instead of getting like AJ Espinoza out of Iowa, you want to be a quarterback factory and draft Jalen Hurts in the second round. Like you got away from what got you there in the first place out of hubris. And it's like the end of any great dynasty, any empire, like it always goes the same way. The leader, the ruler bites off more than they can chew. Power gets to their head, and then quickly it's over for them.
It goes back to, you guys said it, just draft good players. Just draft good players instead of bad ones, Yeah.
That's it. If you guys want to end the show, let's just do it. Like, look,
that could have been the whole entire show.
Just I could be the GM. Just draft good players like that. We have talked for almost an hour now, just recapping like all the ifs and ands and just going and rehashing history and going in time machines and putting out all these scenarios. You just have to draft good people, and you're not in scenarios like we saw tonight where people didn't even want to pay attention to you play football. In a country where we thrive off watching football, and it has been tough to get through a season because of COVID, people didn't even want to watch you play because you put a roster together that was so piss poor and so untalented and so lethargic that the United States of America did not even want to watch you play a nationally televised game. That's how bad you were.
So it sounds like Aidan's also now a Ravens fan, like the rest of Brandon.
Eddie doesn't listen to the podcast, huh?
You gotta jump ship.
The Ravens, let's get it. You guys want to do a quick 2 minutes on this COVID situation with the Ravens and the Steelers?
Bunch of assholes.
We're already over an hour. Why not just keep
going? We'll just end like with another topic that's like not Jalen Hurts.
Well, we'll see.
We'll see. Well, speaking of quarterbacks who can't throw and are only good at
this is mean. Ben Roethlisberger.
Lamar Jackson in the Baltimore Ravens game has been postponed yet again till Wednesday.
The Rudy Gobert of the NFL.
Oh,
what's that? God.
They're the Rudy Gobert of the NFL.
Pretty much, yeah. So they are. It was looking like the Titans were going to be for a while, and they got things on track. Now the Ravens have spiraled out of a muck. So the game has been pushed to Wednesday now, It was supposed to be on Thanksgiving. It's getting to the point like, is this worth it? You know, like
on Christmas.
Yeah, it'll be on Christmas. Remember, you guys ever plan like a trip with all your friends, like whether it's a music festival or just like a beach weekend or anything like that, and it starts as like a big group, and you're like, this is gonna be so much fun. This is gonna be lit. Like there's 20 of us. We're all going. Like we got great tickets. We got a great beach house, something like that. And then like one guy's like, dude, I can't go that weekend. Like I gotta work. Another guy's like, got to take care of the kids. Not really our age group.
No, yeah.
Well, I know some people at home. It is my age group.
Right.
But yeah, like everybody starts to like bow out, and then you get to the point where like, is this worth it? So like we're kind of at that point, right, with this game.
Right. No, first of all, it's not worth it. At some point, you have to punish the team more than just like fining the owner. They forfeit the game. You lose the game if you
They're
can't.
never going to cancel the game.
It's insane to me that like, how is your punishment just? Yeah, the billionaire owner who like pisses $500,000. Let's fine him. But the morons who can't just like stop getting COVID, it's like, dude, I've been going home and then to the grocery store for 9 months. It sucks. I get it. Fucking, do you want to play the football game? Is that what you want to do? Yes or no? Put the mask on, go home. I saw a video, a little off topic. Otto Porter's just in the club pouring champagne in girls' mouths. Like, what are we doing?
Like, not getting COVID is so goddamn easy.
It's
I don't
so
understand
easy.
how this entire team got it. I live in Center City, Philadelphia, one of the epicenters of the country. I could breathe fine.
I agree with both of you. Like it's just like people, we know. I'm not going to get into politics or science or anything like that. People just don't care, and I think there's nobody who cares less than the Harbaugh brothers. Like Michigan in Baltimore, like both. And I don't know if you guys saw, but in college football, Michigan is also having an outbreak. Like this family, when your brain is just football, you can't consider a pandemic, and that comes back.
But at the same time, like I don't have to worry about playing a football game every week, and like I work from home, so I don't have like if I get COVID, I can still work every day. Like these guys can't do football if they get COVID. Sure. Most of the guys on the team aren't making millions and millions and millions of dollars. Like they need a game check. You have to like just don't go to the club for a year.
Exactly.
And it's like that's not I'm not even being political here. I'm being like, if you're supposed to play football and you can't play football if you get sick, don't get sick then.
Yeah, right. It goes back to like what's that thing that me and Kevin always used to? Hey, idiots, stop doing stupid things and do your job.
It's in the intro of the show.
The balls on the Ravens though to just be like, why can't they just wait until we have 2 days of all negative tests? Well, because you were supposed to play the game a week ago, you assholes.
They should make them play with the practice squad. I completely agree with that. Like they should just make them play with whoever's healthy.
But like, I'm so sick of just pushing it back. If it didn't happen Sunday, fine, we'll push it to Monday. Oh, it's not happening Monday, Tuesday. We're not playing football on Wednesday. It was supposed to happen 6 days ago, guys.
Yeah,
that's the thing I'm talking about.
I need 15 points from Chase Claypool, and it needs to happen soon. That's all I'm saying.
That's what I was going to say. I was like, I agree with everything that Eddie says. Under the circumstances that I didn't need Deontay Johnson to go off for fantasy purposes. So this game must be played because of fantasy football.
But I feel like the Steelers do not get a pass on this. The Steelers who will not stop bitching about like getting the short end of the stick. Like I get it. It sucks. Like you lost your bye week, but like not really. You still got a bye week. It just wasn't like the scheduled bye week. It sucks. I get it. For some reason, the Steelers are the ones who keep getting screwed over by other teams not knowing what they're doing. Shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Just shut up.
It was a bad look for them. They've had reasonable gripes, but it was a bad look for them to complain this much about the Ravens and then have their own COVID scare, especially like James Conner, a cancer survivor,
right,
getting COVID. Like it was a bad look to go online, and it was almost like a scheduled promoted tweet where they all went on and said something at the same time. And then like 2 days later, you're in your own like little mini COVID outbreak. Like it was a bad look. What I love about the Steelers is just kind of like, I like Mike Tomlin where he's just like, we do not care. Like, just shut up and play football. And I'm fine with guys like being on Twitter and everything like that. But you got to realize optics, which is a conversation I talk about with the Eagles a lot. It's just like knowing where you're at. And I think optics wise, that it was a bad look to kind of shit on the Ravens.
Great. All this is great and all, but they're never going to cancel this game. They'll keep pushing it back until it happens because there's 3 rivalries in the NFL that like it's Bears, Packers, Eagles, Cowboys, Steelers, Ravens. Those are the 3. There aren't really any other ones.
It's
And
ratings.
they're not gonna.
And you don't want to be in a season with an asterisk. Like if the Steelers technically forfeit, okay, now they have 1 loss. Now the Chiefs get home field advantage throughout, and sends up the Steelers' only loss is this forfeit that was originally caused by the Ravens not being able to play. Like, you don't want your season to be remembered that way.
Well, plus the NFL is not going to lose the money that they're going to make off of a rivalry game when both teams are good.
True. Exactly. Right. Although at this point, like playing it Wednesday at 3:40, like I'm back in the office, so I don't know how I'm going to watch this game. Probably on my phone, but even then it's like it's a tough sell. But they've run out of time.
They had to push it for the tree lighting ceremony. Did you see that?
A what?
They had
yeah. So
did you see that
tree lighting ceremony?
Did you see that? I don't know if I just got lucky and caught all 3 of these things, but the first tweet Adam Schefter made was really mean towards the tree lighting ceremony. He was like, tree lighting game before football. And then he quote tweeted himself and he was like, the tree lighting ceremony will feature, and he put all of like the acts that are singing before it. And I was like, his bosses were like, tweet something nice about this right now. And then he was on pregame, like on ESPN, and he was like, he did the same thing. And he was like, the great tree lighting ceremony that had 2.6 million people watch it last year.
I wonder what suit made the call and was like, hey, none of that, you know? And he probably never thought about it. Like, here's this dumbass pine tree that they strung up and put a few lights on that everyone's excited about.
It's the most embarrassing tree, too. It's the worst looking tree.
Yeah. We all live in the Northeast. We've all seen
I've seen a tree before.
Nobody cares what the pine tree looks like.
Eddie, you've made the trip from Whoville all the way down to New York City.
You know what? I cannot take the slander. I can't take. You tied the Bengals. You tied the Bengals. Don't talk to me about anything.
New Hampshire might as well be like, you've seen Horton Hears a Who on like the town is on the tiny speck of dust that's on the dandelion. That might as well be New Hampshire because it doesn't exist. I'm not
coming back. I'm not coming back. How about that? This is my first and only appearance on Birds vs. Boys. I don't even like New Hampshire. I just don't want to be. This feels like a personal attack.
If you listen, like you have to have giant like elephant ears to hear Eddie right now because he's like all the way down on the speck of dust. No one can hear him.
He's yelling up all the way from New Hampshire. This miniature state. That's a fragment of our imagination that we've been told exists.
I hate it here. At least my team won this weekend.
Look,
how about that?
I told you Carson Wentz is going to be looking for a new place. Cam Newton is on a 1-year deal.
We don't pay quarterbacks around these parts, buddy. We do not pay quarterbacks around here.
I could see a weird like restructuring thing going on. Like people would be like, "Look, we can't pay you what your
is that Howie's last present? That's Howie's last present. He's a whiz with the budget over there. Bill loves a good old deal.
That How does funny seem would like that be if Howie absolutely crippled us on his way out?
Oh,
yes. Like, no, we'll take all the money. You take the player. We'll keep all the money.
Yeah. It'd be hilarious.
So not only do we not have a quarterback, we don't have money to get anybody.
So the problem is you don't have money regardless. He's like a budget whiz, but you're broke. So I don't. What's he budget?
Yeah. Well, their cap situation. I mean, it's not bad. It's just like they're paying people who aren't good.
Which means your cap situation is bad.
No, like it's not like bad. Like, you know, I'm not selling it well. But there's like teams like you look at the Texans and you're like, all right, how do we get out of this mess? Like you have no draft picks and you have this like very high salary cap. Like I don't know what they do. Or like the Rams are a very good example of like, how do you keep paying these people? I'm like, is there a salary cap in Los Angeles? Like the Eagles, I'm at least like, okay, I could see what you have to do and then you'd be okay. You know, like you just have to get rid of these people who are out the door anyway. And like Alshon Jeffrey, you're not going to be paying him $15 million next year. It's like it looks bad this year, but like it's not going to look as Deshaun Jackson. Like you're not going to pay him $8 million next year. It's just those things. Anyone with common sense, so not the Eagles, will probably be back next year.
They're both getting raises.
Like, anyone with common sense can like see how to like fill the hole.
Yeah, it's just not going to happen.
So this is what'll happen. It'll be Carson Wentz. He'll go to New England for like a 4th round pick. We'll get stuck with the $50 million bill. He'll get chunk change from New England.
We'll send you still. You'll have the quarterback factory still.
There we go. We can keep the factory alive. Send us Edelman, and he can throw gimmick passes, and him and Hurts can take turns.
Edelman's off limits. He's also on COVID protocol right now, so maybe leave him alone. He's not feeling great.
Maybe next year. All right. Do you guys have anything else today?
God, no.
God, no. No, Producer Vince is working double time.
Just remember that your team's really bad. And then Carson Wentz is really bad.
I'm not ending my show like this. I will I'll pour some out here on my water bottle for the Eagles. The Super Bowl window ended tonight. Everybody in Philadelphia knew it was going to. I think everybody saw the ending of the movie like it was Marley and Me. You could see this coming a mile away. Here's where we're at. So
what are we doing?
Did you want me to end it on like a positive note?
I didn't want Marley and Me.
Yeah, maybe not that goddamn negative.
It's just football.
Oh, sorry. I've been the one positive. Like they could still win this division for 8 weeks. Now they put up 9 points in front of the entire nation, and I'm supposed to be like,
they did not put up 9 points.
17, pal.
Next week. Oh wait, we had 27. They had 17 because of a Hail Mary at the end of the game. Sorry for not being more positive. It wasn't like
the one good thing Fogum did last like 3 weeks.
What? He tipped the ball to
he couldn't catch the ball and your tight end caught it.
Great. And I'm supposed to be, well, gee whiz, guys. Can't wait till next episode. We'll talk about these 2 shit teams again.
Who do you play next week?
The Packers.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Where is it? In Philly or Green Bay?
Green Bay.
Who cares?
And you guys don't want me to compare this to a dying dog. What do you want me to compare it to? Fucking Hershey's Chocolate World?
A dying dog has more dignity than this.
Compare this to.
Yeah, that's true. In your defense, I've been doing nothing but comparing players to dying dogs the last 3 years.
So thank you. Farewell from me and Marley. Take care, everybody.
Go pass.
Chris Hansen here, and I'm going to need you all to take a seat right over there and check out Birds versus Boys.
I think you're completely right here, and I hate it.
Yeah. Hey, idiots. Stop doing dumb things. I got 2 phones. Upside alert. I might go insane.
I think you're already there.
There's no hope. Hope is gone. If this was an AFC North podcast, we'd be done in 15 minutes. Bob Hope. I'm going to drink bleach.
Be the team you promised me you were going to be this year!
This is the Consciously Hopeful podcast.